This is Raimundo Batista Magalhães, 4 months after the contact. Like Alfonso, he helped Possuelo prepare the expedition which would take them to contact the isolated Indians of the Javari Valley. A year later, he would die at their hands. This is not just any profession. It is a very difficult job and a calling. Because of a misunderstanding, Sobral, as his friends called him, died. Along with Sobral, over the last 25 years, 7 members of the FUNAI have been clubbed to death by some of the Indians that they were protecting from their murderers.
These spears caused Sobral's death.
These are the same spears.
They're the same, yes,
that
yes.
killed Sobral.
I tied the pieces together. I have them here.
Impressive.
I don't know, some of them have... Here, this is Sobral's blood.
Here's the blood.
And here,
yes.
it was full of blood. This is clearer.
In each death, it's as if they wanted to avenge everything that has happened to their people.
Without a doubt. The way they do it, it's not enough for them to kill, because with only one blow, he's dead. But if you look at the way they leave the head, it's totally destroyed, shattered. Tiny bits of skull like this are scattered all over the ground.
A product of that secret war.
Constantly.
Also that
The
war.
result of 500 years of persecution.
But the Department of Isolated Indians' goal is still far off. And despite the irreparable loss of human lives, they must continue their search with professional rigor, camaraderie, and cool heads. Possuelo succeeded in delimiting the indigenous area, prohibiting any exploitation of the land and returning it to its rightful owners. After years in the fight for indigenous rights, at least here, one finds some calm. Now he and his men are watching the Itui and Itacoaí river valleys in order to cut off access to the assassins. As in a military detachment, all year round, and more than 3 days by boat from the last city in Brazil, his men form the most efficient barrier to contain the assaults of our world against the fragile universe of the indigenous peoples. This is his headquarters, and by means of the radio, he coordinates the protection of 6 areas in a space as large as all of Europe. His men are armed to defend themselves and to defend the indigenous people. But the logging companies despise Sydney's epic quest. Reali Franciscato is the chief of this floating station, and his assistants, valuable FUNAI workers, come from all over Brazil. They are also the most committed to this task of defending human rights. They are Indians, the Matis, a tribe contacted in the 1970s, and they know this territory better than anyone. It's their home. These valuable collaborators are hired by the government, and their function here every day is to watch over this virgin area where their past sleeps and their future grows. They are not the only ethnic group around here. The indigenous reservation of the Javari Valley is inhabited by at least 3,000 natives belonging to different tribal groups in different stages of contact. Today, the Matis participate fully in Sydney Possuelo's philosophy and collaborate closely with the station chief Reali, perhaps because they have seen how their people were abused and they don't want other indigenous brothers to suffer in the same way. They know this jungle well. They read the pages of this book of earth and mud as no one else can. And they fight alongside good men, whether they are white or not, for the human health of this jungle. Without their collaboration, it would have been impossible to communicate this message of peace from these friends from the enemy lines during the initial contacts. Here we see them in action. The Carubos and Matis do not entirely understand each other, but the goodwill is fruitful. Today, they are working hand in hand with the 21st century philanthropists. But they don't want to miss this opportunity to show the best of themselves, their authenticity. For that reason, they shoot their blowpipes with all the skill of their forebears. Despite the fact that they wear FUNAI uniforms, they are children of the forest, and they don't want us to forget it. The Amazon of the year 2000 still holds enclaves like this one, the native village of the Mati Indians who work with Sydney Possuelo. Their contact with our world has been complete, but they decide what it should be like, the rhythm and rate at which they bring their step in time with ours. Our civilized society waits for no one, not even for us. It would be naive to think otherwise. That is the principle that has moved Sydney all his life, that they, the Indians, decide for themselves, that they take their own time, that they not succumb, defenseless to the arrogant machinations of our modern society. At the head of this pacifist fleet goes a little boat called the Commander Sobral, christened with that name in memory of the last companion who gave his life for the Indians' cause. Before the demarcation of this indigenous reserve, these rivers were plied by other ships that shot at the wild Indians, at the bichos da mata, or jungle bugs, as Vilas Boas told us. The FUNAI boats work every day of the year, piloted by a handful of great professionals who hardly earn enough to make ends meet. We know that the Brazilian government does not provide the necessary funding each year to maintain this indispensable operation, and that some non-governmental organizations, like Spain's Watu Indigenous Action, have to do it for them. The bureaucrats in Brasilia must be expecting a miracle to solve the indigenous question.
Atue no meu corpo, atue na minha vida e destrua todo esse mal.
Eu quero que vocês façam algo diferente para mim. Eu quero que vocês saiam às
sendo criaturas, sendo adotados agora pelo sacrifício do teu Filho amado Jesus Cristo na cruz do Calvário.
Você pode dizer não há mais jeito, mas você vai começar agora a invocar o nome do Senhor, aleluia.
Não adianta, não adianta, não adianta, não Belém é nossa Jerusalém.
Brasil no es solamente un paraíso natural.
Brazil is not only a natural paradise, it is also the land of televised preachers, the charlatans who capture the wills of others over the television. Thousands of people, men and women, are scattered over the Amazon forest trying to save the souls of the indigenous peoples. I am here in a hotel in Belém de Pará, but I could be in any other city in the Amazon and witness the same spectacle, many television channels dedicated to this garbage. The truth is that here, in Brazil, and specifically in the Amazon, faith not only moves mountains, but also immense sums of money.